All right, welcome to my Algebra 1 video on ways to represent functions. So a function is a rule that assigns to each input exactly one output. So it's a relation that has a specific relationship where each input has exactly one output. So we're going to show how to represent a function or a specific function in many different ways in this video. So first we'll start down here with input and output. So our input is just an x value. And then based on that input, we get an output, which is a y value. Okay, and then we can represent inputs and outputs in all these different ways. So we're going to start with equation. And we're going to start with f parentheses x equals 3x plus 4. So in an equation that's written this way with this function notation in the beginning, f of x is how that's pronounced, we have an input, which is our x. So write this down. So this x over here is also our input. On the left side, it's more of a notation. On the right side, it's going to tell us the rule, what the function machine is going to do with our input. And so this whole notation over here, f of x, signifies our output. So if I take 3, I multiply it times my input, and I add 4, I'm going to get my output. So let's do that in the table over here. Let's make an input-output table. X, and then f of x, because f of x stands for output. Sometimes you see y instead of f of x. And I'm going to give you some inputs. So I'm going to start, let's fill them in. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So in order to figure out what the output is, I have to use this equation. I have to do 3 times my input, which is -2, and then add 4. And whatever I get for the answer, that's my output. So I can do this in the calculator, 3 parentheses -2 plus 4. That's -6 plus 4, which is -2. So in my output column, I'm going to put a -2. So a -2 goes in, and a -2 comes out. When I put in a -1, 3 times -1 is -3. When I add 4, I get 1. So when I put in a -1, a positive 1 comes out. So it's not always the same thing comes out that went in. When I put in a 0, 3 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. So input of 0 gives me an output of 4. When I put in a 1, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 4 is 7. So input of 1 gives an output of 7. And when I put in a 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10. So I put in a 2, I get out a 10. So that's the way to show that in an input-output table. And I can actually do that super easily. From there, I can actually make a list of ordered pairs. So I'm going to start with those brackets. Ew, that one's ugly, sorry. And I'm going to list the first pair. So I've got -2, -2 for my inputs, outputs. The next set that I have, sorry I bumped the camera, is -1, 1. So I'm going to make that my next ordered pair. The next set I have is 0, 4. So that's going to be my next ordered pair. Then I have 1, 7. Then I have 2, 10. And that finishes up our list. So I close my brackets. So apparently I'm a lot better at my right brackets than I am at my left brackets. And then lastly, we're going to make those same ordered pairs. We're going to graph them on the graph. So this part is going to be a little trickier. I've got numbers like 10, and these only have 5 boxes, so I'm going to have to change my scale. For the x-axis, which is this horizontal one, I'm going to keep my scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For every box, it's just going to be 1. But when I go on my y, so that means when I go this way, sorry, it'll be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. When I do my y's, I need to be able to get all the way up to 10 and 7, and that's not going to fit if I count by ones. So I'm going to change my y to be 2 every box. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I don't have to have the same scale on both the x and the y, but whenever I change it, I want to make sure I label it. So -2 for this one, -4, -6, -8, -10. So all negatives are a little harder to see. But that'll help me stay organized when I go to graph these points. So I've got, the first one is -2, -2. So on the x, I'm going to go to -2. which is here, but then on the y, I'm going to go to negative 2, which is only down 1 box. So I'm going to be right here, make a big point. So that's my first one. Then I've got negative 1, 1. So I'm going to go over to negative 1, where 1 is going to be is halfway between here. So like this halfway mark, kind of eyeball it. Negative 1, 1 is going to be over 1, but in the middle of this box when I go up. So I'll make a big point there. Then I've got 0, 4, so I can go 0 on the x and just up 4. And then I've got 1, 7, so 7 is going to be in between 6 and 8. And then I've got 2, 10, which is going to be up here at the top. So you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on our graph. And there is representing a function, f of x equals 3x plus 4, with the input-output table, the ordered pairs, and graphing the ordered pairs on the coordinate plane. So go ahead and put that into your notebook as well, and we can title this Ways to Represent a Relation or a Function. And go ahead and glue that in. Thanks for watching.